Welcome back to Proline. I'm Dave Kochen, joined by Jim Feist, coming to you direct from Las Vegas, where it's about 110 degrees, but it's a dry heat. Football kickoff coming up soon. We're going to look at some NFL coaches on the hot seat, and I think everybody knows one of them, but we'll talk about a few more. First, my entire NFL preseason, that's 4 weeks of plays. I will not be playing the Hall of Fame game, so it's just the regular week 1, 2, 3, and 4. $39. Bonus week of Major League Baseball. I'm including the CFL, where I'm rolling right now. I'm going to have plays every day. There are games in preseason. I know how to find the right information, and you can get with me for the entire month of August football, plus a week of Major League Baseball, all for only $39. Here's the number to call, 855-472-2577. Make the call. Let's win some money together this NFL preseason. Jim, baseball games of the month and year combined, 22-10.
It's been a real remarkable season, and I'm very proud of it, and I know all my followers have done really well. That's been part of my 60-36 baseball run overall, as well as 44-16 with my high rollers. Everyone can get on board with my Friday special. 4 days of plays for just $44. That includes one of my high roller releases going tonight. That's a $500 value online. As a bonus, 4 days, $44 by calling my offices right now, 866-546-9467.
All right, so we're going to identify 6 coaches. Let's talk about 6 coaches that I think are unquestionably on the hot seat going into this season. They've got to produce something positive, or they're not going to be there in 2017. And everybody knows who one of them is, and that's Rex Ryan. It's playoffs or bust for the Ryans in Buffalo. No question in my mind about that.
Well, now you got 2 of them. You got Rex and Rob. And, you know, I go back to Rex as a head coach, and I've never been super excited about him as a head coach. Bless you.
Thank you.
And Rob.
It's the dry heat.
Yeah, in the 110 degrees.
Yeah.
I'd like to know, that's in the shade, by the way. 118, 120 is more like it. But anyway, we're not supposed to tell you that, or you won't come here and visit. But Rex and Rob, I think that combo up in Buffalo is a mess. When you look at the defense last year under Rex, who's supposed to be also a defensive coach, they fell way off. I mean, their statistics, they were number 4 and they went down 19 or 20.
Reputation, not reality.
Yeah, it's right. It is. And I think Rex has been blessed. I mean, his father was a great defensive coach. He was blessed. He got with the Jets, and that's when Manning and the Colts backed off in the second half to get to the playoffs. They shouldn't have. I mean, this whole thing. They have done well in one situation. Every time they play the Patriots, they give them a real hard time.
Here's the problem I have, and I think this is, if this was still the 1980s or the 1990s, what the Ryan brothers do as far as their approach goes would still probably pay off. But it's not. It's a different mindset out there with officiating and player safety and things like that, and that's not going to change, okay? You could say, well, I used to play football like men back in the old days. No, I don't care about that, okay? Because all I care about is how they're calling games now. And the fact is that if you play the style with a complete lack of discipline that we have on Rex Ryan teams and Rob Ryan teams, you're going to get penalties galore, and they're going to kill your team, and you're going to lose football games because of that. You cannot be taking 120 yards and penalties in a game and expect to win.
Did they lead the league last year in penalties?
I think they did, yeah.
They were just terrible. On their discipline factor is way low. They're very bad.
Yeah, it is. All right, so let's talk about some others. Jeff Fisher, and I know obviously the family connection there is big for him with the Rams. It's probably why he's still coaching the team, but they got to make some kind of a splash in L.A., and he can't have another losing season.
Is it 9 or 10 years in a row now he hasn't had a winning season? It's something in that range.
It isn't good, I know that.
No, and normally we're talking about coaches on the hot seat. He's been on the hot seat if you're looking at production for the last 7 years, but he's there, so it probably is a family connection that keeps him there. It certainly isn't performance on the field. Now they got the big move and all the things they're doing. a lot of money being spent, and I respect him as a football guy, but as a head coach, he's been pretty dismal.
All right, so what do we do with Jim Caldwell? Now, Caldwell's interesting because I think it pretty much looked like a done deal that he was going to get canned at the end of the 2016 season until the Lions got rolling in the second half of the season. They could have been 7-1 down the stretch if it wasn't for the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary.
That's right.
So Caldwell got to stick around, but he's definitely on the hot seat going into this season.
You would think he is. I mean, they started 1-7 last year, and then they ended up 6-2 at the end. But like Dave said, the Aaron Rodgers Hail Mary, which was a remarkable play, and very fortunate to happen for the Packers, they would have been 7-1, so they'd have switched the whole thing around, gone 8-8 on the year. They have a lot of talent there, and they're not the upper echelon of talent, but there's enough talent throughout the entire roster that they could produce. I mean, they're got the Bears in that division, which I am not that high on the Bears.
No.
I think Minnesota and the Packers are going to fight it out for the division lead, and the Lions could be dangerous. I haven't checked off their non-division schedule, but they can be dangerous. Caldwell is, like you said, on the hot seat. I agree with that. It's not as hot as some of the other guys.
The San Diego Superchargers have not been Superchargers the last couple of years.
No.
It's a mess. They've had a ton of injuries. They don't even know when they're going to be playing in the future. Mike McCoy, I don't know if you can pin this on Mike McCoy, but I think that he's probably going to end up on the chopping block. I know they made some changes. They brought in Whisenhunt, who's back to being an assistant, and that should be his strength. But I don't know. I look at this roster, and I just don't see where they can win a lot of football games.
I agree with you. I think the Chargers' problems go back to Marty Schottenheimer. Not his fault. But when they got rid of a guy like that.
14-2.
Yeah, I mean, that's just terrible. How can you be 14-2? And they get rid of him, and they bring in Norm, or what was his name, the coach?
And now I'm blanking out of this one.
Yeah, but anyway, they brought in a guy that had a losing record, other coaches in other positions. The organization at the top of the San Diego team is bad. They're kind of like what the Jets are doing right now with Fitzpatrick. They make those kind of mistakes. They're not a winning organization, therefore they will not win. They're not going to win with this organization. They have a good quarterback. They've had that good quarterback for as long as Eli Manning's been in the league, because they both came out at the same time. He's excellent, leads the league in a lot of things, but they haven't produced an offensive line. They got rid of LT years ago. I mean, they got rid of Breeze years ago. This is an organization that I can't support.
Now, in the regular season, Marvin Lewis has put together a rather sterling record the last several years in Cincinnati. 5 years in a row they're in the playoffs. It's pretty good.
Damn good.
5 years in a row they lose in the first round of the playoffs, and really, it wasn't Marvin Lewis's fault in any way. I mean, just boneheaded plays cost them that game last year.
Oh, that was
just
tough.
awful. You can't really blame that on Lewis, but
well, in a way you can.
I
Dave,
guess
because
when
the
the pattern
discipline
repeats itself.
When you have when you have players that are not disciplined and they act out and they don't realize what effect they have on the other guys in the entire city. That's the head coach. It has to go back to the head coach.
All right. Well, then Lewis has to be on the hot seat. He has to be.
Well, this run of getting to the playoffs is going to end at some point. These teams go up and they
Window's
go
gonna
down.
close.
At some point, this is going to go backwards. They're going to start losing some of these guys. They did lose some players this year in the offseason.
And one more. Jason Garrett, Dallas Cowboys, the assistant to the actual head coach, Jerry Jones.
Well, that's why he can't get fired, because the real head coach is Jerry.
Look, he's got to keep Romo on the field, which Garrett has no say as far as Romo's health is concerned.
Well,
but
actually,
if Romo's on the field, you got to think Dallas is going to improve this year and possibly be a playoff contender, which is what it's going to take for Garrett to keep his job. If Romo gets dinged up again, which I think is a real possibility because he's getting older and brittle, I think this is the end for Garrett.
Last year, the Cowboys had a lot of injuries, including Romo. Their offensive line is back together. It looks like they have a running game again, and if they do, if they do, with that offensive line protecting Romo, him being a little bit more conservative, watching his health a little bit more, they can keep him healthy. If they keep him healthy, let's look at their division. And you're talking about getting to the playoffs. Washington is okay, but they won the division last year because Philadelphia, the Giants, and Dallas were a mess, especially on defense when you're talking about the Giants. Horrible, even though Eli had a pretty good, darn good year. But this is the best team in the NFC East. And if they win that division, they're in the playoffs, and that's where they want to be. If you can keep him healthy by running the ball more like they did 2 years ago with DeMarco Murray, then they're back.
And we're going to be back next week, but first we want to tell you about free plays that you can get every day. And they're on a recorded message from our Vegas experts. Just call toll-free 888-478-9222.
That's right. And also at ProlineTV.com. Click on the subscribe button and get notifications on new videos. Plus, you'll be sent a code to get 7 days of my service absolutely free. That's ProlineTV.com.
That's it. Thanks for joining us. We will see you next week with another edition of Proline.